I think one thing I'll say is that as a clinician, working with the bell, we found it to be a tremendous tool, and we use it regularly. But the one caveat you have to have is you do have to have a patient be engaged in the process. They've got to kind of want to use it or accept the challenge of using it. If you're just throwing it at them, which would be true with any weight, I think, is that, hey, I want you to do this because I want you to do it. If they're not engaged and they get a little careless, then things can get a little sloppy. So there definitely has to be an engagement there, but it's a phenomenal control tool. I think, not to tell Evan's story for him, but I think that it really changed your shoulder function from doing a traditional rehab. Again, this is where it kind of fits into this bridge the gap between rehab performance. Wasn't the best thrower on your team for a while there.
Awful. This is awful.
Liability, as I said.
This was in a previous podcast, but yes, there was at one point in my life.
I was hoping I'd say it twice.
Well. Yeah. Let's get back to the room thing earlier. Yeah, and then shoulder fell apart, multiple dislocations, shoulder fell apart, and to a point in rec league, what was that, intramural softball at school?
They were big softballs, I will say.
What?
They were mountain softballs.
That's not why. I
think
terrible
it was
shoulder
why.
at
You can
that
say
point.
it was.
No, terrible shoulder at that point, right? I've been through hell, like terrible shoulder, didn't function the way it properly should, and yeah, training with kettlebells and the stability components of things, but really the end stage thing, which again is not for everybody, but getting to the snatch and this 53-pound kettlebell flying over your head and you having to stabilize it at the top. Again, I think you made this point earlier in this episode that as baseball players, you're always taught, like, don't do anything overhead. When I was a kid, if you pressed anything overhead, it was the end of the world.
Oddly similar to that position.
Right. Yeah, but it was
weird.
It was always told no, right? Now I'm flinging this heavy thing over. I'm like, all right, last ditch effort. Let's see what happens, right? And yeah, I mean, everything changed. I think.
Yeah,
I can throw.
They're cheese now.
Very different.
Frozen ropes across the infield.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Back to the short step position.
Right.
Even though it's softball, it's a little bigger ball than you'd like to be playing, but either way.
It's heavier. That's just talking about.
It's heavier.
Right.
That's a
it
perspective.
takes them into more layback, so he has more width.
Oh, I see.
But I think this does kind of go to, you maybe ask like a skilled carpenter, what's your favorite tool in your shop? And to probably a carpenter, it's pretty darn silly. Why is that so silly, Mr. Carpenter? Well, because you need the right tool for the job. If you're getting speed perturbation, there's probably nothing better than a single arm swing if you're able to fortify someone in that manner. If you're looking for some activation of the core in a deep squat pattern, using a bottom up asymmetrical unilateral loaded bottom up kettlebell squat, not much better. So we need to apply the right tool, and this is where I love med balls. I use a trap bar a lot. I use a pull-up bar. We might use a TRX rope. It is knowing your tools, and I do think that if you have skill with the tools that you employ, you're going to be the best clinician out there. You shouldn't be afraid of the kettlebell.
And to that point, I think I could take each of you, put you guys in a room with, or anywhere, put you out in the world somewhere with a person and no implement, and you could figure out a way to get the forces and the demands required, right? So to your point, it's not about the tool. It's more about why are we doing it and how can we create the demands that we want.
Yeah. One thing we can count on is for us to bring in a really interesting analogy.
Yes.
There's a kangaroo on another episode.
That's right, resonant frequency. That's a true fact right there.
Interesting expertise.
True fact.
Yeah,
that is a true fact, guys.
Is it